Happy New Year. Welcome to the Mindfulness broadcast. This is year 6 of the Mindfulness broadcast, which is really cool. So I just wanted to do a little golf clap for that. That's pretty amazing. And hopefully it's been helping you and will continue to help you. So today, what I wanted to talk about is friction. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. So what I wanted to speak about is an idea that I've come across from a psychiatrist researcher down at Stanford named Anna Lembke. She wrote this really amazing book called Dopamine Nation. And the idea is friction and embracing friction. And I'm going to unpack that in just a second. But I just thought it would be appropriate given that it's the beginning of the year, and I, for one, am all excited to try and make some positive changes in my life. And I know that that's pretty common. Even if we don't set New Year's resolutions, there's just kind of a feeling sometimes like, oh, I just want to stop doing this and start doing that, or those kinds of things. So I wanted to unpack some of the neuroscience behind that and then see how we can use mindfulness to help ourselves in creating some better habits, some better processes and some more information to help us understand why we're doing what we're doing and how we're going to do it. So we're going to look at dopamine. So this is what Anna Lembke calls the dopamine seesaw. And it turns out that the pleasure center and the pain center in our brains are actually in the same region. And what that means is that pleasure and pain are always relating to each other, and they're always seeking what's called homeostasis. So they always want the seesaw to be essentially balanced. So in practical terms, what that means is that anytime we experience some amount of pleasure, there will be some pain that will come into our experience in order to try and create that balance. And Lemke talks about this as these pain gremlins. So these pain gremlins have an important job, which is to create the balance in our pain pleasure dopamine centers in our brain. And when they do that, we can sometimes have an inclination like, ooh, I don't like that feeling, right? No one likes that feeling of the little subtle or not so subtle pain that starts to come on when we're trying to balance this dopamine seesaw. And in addition to that, what we know is that we are living in a society, in a culture where we have very little friction in terms of accessing things that give us, especially small amounts, little mini hits of dopamine on a regular basis. And this can sometimes be referred to as digital overabundance. So, anytime you get a like on your social media, or you see something on YouTube, or even just having some chocolate, or, there's all these things that we can do to try and get those pain gremlins to go away. The issue with this, and this is sometimes called environmental mismatch, like we weren't designed to live in this kind of environment. And so it's really hard for our biology to be resisting all of this access to pleasure that we just haven't had in previous generations. So as a result, what can happen is that we can get way out of balance, right? So if we have access to constant little pleasure zones, right, like then we're going to get out of balance. What happens then, though, is that those pain gremlins have to start working that much harder in order to create that homeostasis. And that's their job. And what that leads to is just these larger, sometimes more violent swings in the pain pleasure seesaw. And that can also lead to a lot of what we see in terms of higher levels of anxiety and depression and discontent and all that stuff. So what we want to do is we want to use mindfulness as a tool to deal with those little pain gremlins. Again, like you see them right here, like they seem cute, but they can not feel so good sometimes. So we want to use mindfulness as a way to be with them so that they can do their job and then kind of help us to have a healthier relationship to that pain pleasure seesaw cycle, right? So we want to have more balance. We want to have a healthier homeostasis. We want to have a healthier relationship to both pleasure and pain, and stop going so kind of roller coastery in terms of what we're up to. And this can help us in a lot of ways, in terms of, like, let's say, resisting sweets. That's what I'm up to right now, right? I'm sugar-free right now, and it's not easy. So I need to have a tool to help me to weather those little subtle moments where my brain's like, go get a candy bar, go get a candy bar. So what I want to do is I want to do a quick exercise with you to give you a little bit of a taste of how this might feel. So I'm going to go ahead and invite you to just settle in whatever place you are in the moment. Just take in the room where you are. Get yourself in a somewhat comfortable position. Let your body settle. If it's comfortable, you can close your eyes. Take a couple of deep breaths. Check in with your senses. Just being a human being in space right now. Set an intention to let go of whatever might be preoccupying you at the moment. You can pick it up later. And then what I want you to do is I want you to call to mind something that feels just a little bit uncomfortable. One of those little pain gremlins is at you. Could even just be boredom, some small level of discontent, something that's like a 2 or a 3 on the scale of 1 to 10. Could be that you're walking back to your desk after lunch, you're a little bit tired, and you walk past the break room and you see a plate of cookies and you're like, ooh. And rather than going and grabbing a cookie and pushing towards the pleasure side of the seesaw, you choose to just go sit down at your desk and be with those little pain gremlins. And what I want you to do is just to sense into what the sensations are in your body. What does it feel like to have a teeny bit of pain or discomfort, and to have the urge to reach out and grab the pleasure? And just breathe into that for a moment. And know that, like all things, it is impermanent. It turns out that once the little pain gremlins have done their job and created balance, they'll stop. They'll stop pushing down on that seesaw. So just notice what's happening. Notice the physical sensations in your body. Notice any thoughts or stories that have come along for the ride. Oftentimes we'll feel things in our torsos, our chest, or our belly. And as best you can, just be open and curious. And just notice if it's dissipated at all, or even just changed. And then when you're ready, you can move your body slightly side to side, front to back. You can stretch your arms out and slowly open your eyes. So what we've just done is we've intentionally, with our mindfulness practice, we've engaged the friction that we sometimes feel when that dopamine seesaw is getting itself back into balance. So when the little pain gremlins start to step on the other side of the seesaw and we don't like it, if we can embrace that friction with our mindfulness practice, what that will do is it will create more resilience. So any organism that's exposed to stress and or poison in what might be thought of as sustainable amounts will naturally grow stronger. And so that's essentially what we're up to. We're building our resilience in an environment where there is just way too much access to frictionless pleasure. So this is a tool that we really need in order to keep that balance for ourselves. So I hope that's useful. Thanks for being with us.